podcast. My name is Aisel Dihito and we'll be diving into a topic that plays a key role in every classroom, which is the materials adaptation. Specifically, we will explore two different types of approaches, which is the learner-centered and the teacher-centered. We know that in teacher-centered approach, the teacher takes the lead in selecting and modifying materials based on the curriculum or their instructional plan. On the other hand, when we say a learner-centered approach, prioritizes adapting materials to meet the needs, interests, and learning preferences of the students. To gain insight into how teachers adapt materials, we'll be speaking with high school and elementary language teachers to hear their perspective and experiences. Now, joining us today is a very dedicated and passionate educator, Ma'am Robel. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
To start, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your teaching profession, and also what inspires you to become a teacher?
So as of now, I am currently working in one of the private school here at Danmantayan. So at first, once I was schooling at Cebu Normal University as well, same as you. I am a tutor before the pandemic. So before and during the pandemic as well. So while studying, I'm tutoring one student. So I was encouraged because my student is like introvert type of a person. So I was encouraged that to be a teacher, we should not be close to a one cage. So we need to access and we need to believe in ourselves that we can do better. So with the help of that kid, I'm introverted as well. So I find myself an inspiration to be one of a teacher, and I was able to uplift the attitude of the kid as well, that being the introvert one, he becomes a extrovert, and as the same time he becomes an honor student as well. So that's the time I was able to see in myself that I will be a teacher in the future and I will be successful in the future as well.
That's wonderful. With your experience, I'm sure you've adapted a lot of materials over the months to fit your student needs. Without further ado, let's move on to our main points for today's discussion, which is our question and answer series for materials adaptation. So now let's take first the choosing materials. So could you share with us how you typically select materials for your language classes? Do you have, can you describe the process you follow?
Yes. As of now, I'm currently adapting some multiple adaptation for using for our instructional materials. So for example, since I have right now, we're currently an inclusive education in our school. So I have one student that is deaf and mute. So that's a quite challenge for me since I was not able to know or to study sign languages. So what I did is that in order to, I was not able to forget that kind of child, I will keep in close contact to that kid as well. Then at the same time, whenever I discuss something, I will not forget to write something on the board, so that he will be able to have some insights about what I've talked and for us to be able to communicate. And as well as for some of the students, they are currently active as well as they are participative as well. So we need to have materials that are not plainly discussion only. We need to have interactions as well as games for them to be able to participate and have fun together as they can learn as well.
Okay, thank you. And for the next is the adapting materials. Once you've selected your materials, do you usually adapt them? If so, could you provide some examples of modification or adjustments you make?
Yes, I do adapt those materials, in which it's because for you to be a teacher, you need to be instill in yourself that these materials we need to know as well how to use it, as well as how we will going to portray or provide that one to our students for us to be ready for lots of circumstances, since we can see that not all of the students is like constant, or like there's no changes, there's ups and downs. Then I can see that we really need to adapt in everything we have as well.
Okay. For our third one, teacher-centered versus a learner-centered approach. So when you adapt materials, do you find yourself prioritizing adherence to the curriculum, or do you focus more on addressing your students' individual needs?
Yes, so as we know right now, we are currently in a new curriculum, so yung Matatag curriculum. So, the competencies is broad the last time. However, in today's curriculum, they are shortened for us, for the teachers to help us to be able to um, get in touch as easy as we can to the curriculum. However, we need to as well to consider our students. So our students is our main point here, and yes, of course, we need to be student-centered in this um, kind of discussion already, since focusing in teacher-centered, we cannot see that those who then already understand. So we need to ask more questions to, or a series of questions to get the impact as well as the knowledge of the students, whether they were able to understand the discussion. So as what we said is about the curriculum, if we were able to adapt, I'm more focusing to students. Meanwhile, I focus as well to the curriculum. So sometimes it's balanced, sometimes it's more in students. It's due to, as I've observed in my today's teaching journey, is that when I check at the curriculum in the first grading, there's something curriculum there that it states that, for example, it's phases of matter. So it's in the first grading. However, if you look it in the book, if you scan it in the table of contents or in the pages, the phases of matter is located already at the last part. So it could be the student will gonna think that this page at the last, oh, it could be it's already the last topic we have. So it can be confusing to the students that we keep on jumping to different pages instead of continuing from page 1 up until the last pages. That's it.
Okay. And for the fourth one is the challenges in materials adaptation. So in your experience earlier, what challenges have you encountered when adapting materials for your class?
Adapting materials is really hard. It's for me, it's because we need to have the realized materials, as we have what we have learned as well in school, that our teachers usually instill in our minds that every discussion we have or every demonstration we have inside the classroom, it should be in touch with the real world. Why? It's because the student will gonna be like imagining things only. If we are gonna say the apple is red, yes, they believe that the apple is red. However, they need to have some representation or objects for them to be able to see this thing, and they will be able to analyze as well the object and develop their critical thinking about the object as well.
Okay, and for the last one is the practical experience. So could you share a specific example of a time when you modified a lesson or a teaching material to better suit your students? What motivated you to make those changes, and how did the students respond?
For that, yes, there's some scenario that I was able to modify my teaching materials. At first, I was like discussing something about shapes as well as colors. Then, as I've noticed to my students, is that they're mainly they're more active in something animations, as well as like Minecraft or Roblox, Mobile Legends, just like that. So as I've seen that as a teacher, I'm not really into. I do play games, I do play Roblox as well as Mobile Legends, but I'm not really good into interacting as well as implementing those kind of ICT materials to my discussion. It might be, it cannot be balanced in myself as well, that I will be not able to discuss the proper way of abstraction or the discussion of the topic. However, since I've noticed that they're into that, I really need to jump into that kind of world. So I'm more into that time. I was able to do, like, I was, my IMs or my instructional materials is purely Minecraft. So as I've said, that it's all about shapes. So Minecraft is all about shapes as well. So when I integrate that Minecraft, I catch the attention of the students, in which it's make me easy to discuss everything about colors and shapes. Due to Minecraft, it has a different colors, as well as I'm making blocks for them to be able to understand the topics. So what motivates me as well is that since there's a diversity of student in the classroom, I need to improve myself not just in one aspect. So I believe that all of the students has differences. As what we've said, it's inclusive already. We have multiple intelligences. So we need to be adaptive, and as a teacher, we need to be flexible and easily to change as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Robel. And from this interview, it is clear that adapting materials requires careful consideration. Teachers need to strike a balance between following the curriculum and addressing the unique needs of their students. So some learn more on learner-centered approach to ensure structured delivery of learning, while others focuses on learner-centered approach to ensure students actively engage in the learning process. So, and now, I just want to express my heartfelt gratitude to Ma'am Robel. Thank you, Ma'am. And thank you for here with us, or thank you for joining with us in this today's discussion. And to our viewers, whether you are students or a teacher, this approach helped us to appreciate the effort and thought that goes in making learning more engaging and effective. So we hope this was insightful, and we'll see you in our next episode. Bye-bye! And now, let's welcome our second guest for today's discussion. She is a grade 8 English teacher. Without further ado, let's get her opinions with regards to materials adaptation. The first question is, could you share with us how you typically select the materials for your language classes? Could you describe the process you follow?
When selecting materials, I usually start by examining the curriculum goals and the specific learning objectives for the course. And I look for resources that align well with these objectives and are also appropriate for the student's age and proficiency level. Beyond just textbooks, I include multimedia resources, articles, or even real world content that could spark students' interest. I also consider the diversity of learning styles in my class, so I seek materials that offer visual, auditory, and kinesthetic elements. This process helps me create a learning environment that feels both structured and flexible enough to meet various needs.
Second question, once you've select your materials, do you usually adapt them? If so, could you provide some examples of modification or adjustments you make?
Yes, I often adapt materials to make them more accessible and engaging. For example, If a reading passage is too advanced, I might simplify some of the language without losing the content's essence, or I will add more contextual images or examples to aid comprehension. And I also modify activities to be more interactive, turning a simple like Q&A session into a group discussion or role play activity. Another common adjustment is changing the pacing of lessons. Some materials can be dense, so I might break them into smaller parts, allowing time for reflection and discussion before moving on.
Third question. When you adapt materials, do you find yourself prioritizing adherence to the curriculum, or do you focus more on addressing your students' individual needs?
I believe it's essential to balance both. While the curriculum provides a valuable roadmap, focusing solely on it can sometimes overlook students' specific needs. I start by covering the core content required by the curriculum. But I am flexible enough to make adjustments if I notice students struggling or needing more depth in certain areas. So for me, to keep students engaged, I incorporate activities or topics they connect with. For example, if the curriculum involves practicing certain grammar rules, I might frame it around themes students are interested in, like current events or popular culture. This approach keeps lessons curriculum centered yet responsive to individual needs.
For the fourth one, in your experience, what challenges have you encountered when adapting materials for your classes?
One of the biggest challenges for me is time. Adapting materials thoughtfully can be time consuming, especially when you need to differentiate for different ability levels. Another challenge is ensuring that adapted materials still align with the curriculum standards while also making them engaging for students. Sometimes I find it difficult to find resources that balance simplicity with depth, particularly for mixed ability classrooms. Another challenge is assessing the effectiveness of adapted materials in real time. It's important to stay observant and adjust further if I see students struggling.
The last question. Could you share a specific example of a time when you modified a lesson or a teaching material to better suit your students? What motivated you to make those changes and how did the students respond?
Certainly, one example was during a unit on persuasive writing. The original material was centered around fairly abstract topics, which I found didn't resonate much with the students. So, I adapted the lesson by asking students to write persuasive pieces on real life issues they cared about, like uh, environmental sustainability or social media influence. This made the assignment more relatable and motivated students to think deeply and articulate their arguments. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Students were more engaged, and many even went beyond assignment to discuss their perspective in class. And seeing their interest grow was a powerful reminder of how adaptation can make a lesson more meaningful.
Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insight with us today. Your experiences and knowledge have truly enriched our understanding, and we're grateful for the time you've taken to be here. We hope our viewers learned as much as we did. Thank you once again for being part of our discussion. This is Aisel Dijito. We'll see you in my next episode.